Oh, and we'll make sure. Oh. Oh, we must be live. I already see a notification. Yay. Let's just double check. Let's get on our Janome Canada page. There we go. Are we live? There we are. Yay. Oh, let's check that volume. Yes, perfect. Excellent. And as you will see, I am not alone today. I've got the fabulous Tobias Binder with me today here at the Janome Sewing and Learning Center in Oakville, Ontario. And yes, we sort of match with the red. But yes, do you see Tobias's cute little, I'm always backwards, cute little pin on his, yes, a cute little sewing machine pin. Again, anywhere to share the Janome love. I love it. So yes, Tobias is, again, for those who don't know, although he's been with us a couple of months now, right? Easily. I know the time goes by so fast. So yes, Tobias is here in my messy classroom as we're doing so many things, so much on the go. Oh, without sound. Oh, I think I have sound. You know, I do have sound. Maybe you need to refresh your screen. Oh, without sound. Yes, I do have sound. Okay, good. Yeah, so fabulous. So yes, I am here with the fabulous Tobias Binder, again, doing some wonderful work, which we'll see later. So yes, I have sound. Perfect. So yes, thank you everyone for joining. So yes, Tobias, thank you for joining the live. I thought, oh yes, we'll just put him on the spot and he can be live too, because, you know, it's not just me. I know many of you know me as National Education Manager of Janome Canada, and it's wonderful to be back with you all again live on our Janome Canada Facebook page. But again, it's not just me doing all of this work in the background educationally, trying to again share more Janome love with you all. Oh yes, I love it to see everybody coming on. Oh, Donna is here, and that is great. And Vanessa, oh lovely. Oh, and Anne from the UK, yes, fantastic. And Des is here, oh, from Ireland, wow, awesome. Thank you. This is what I totally love about technology. We can all share the love no matter where we are in the world. So that is fabulous. So again, yes, I am Michael Smith, National Education Manager of Janome Canada, and thank you so much for joining me on another Janome Canada live, Facebook Live. But of course, we're also here, you know, I'm never alone. We're always here to join the fabulous, shall I bring her on? Liz Johnson from Sew4Home, yay! It seems like so long since we've seen each other.
I know, it does. It's that strange conundrum of time is going too fast, and then you look and it's been like, wait a minute, it has been like 2 months since I saw you.
You know? Yes. But it's wonderful to see you. It looks like a beautiful day out there. No smoke, no fires. So
no
yay.
smoke, no fires. We are lucky. I'm sorry about all of my Canadian friends who've suffered through that. We had that here in the Pacific Northwest in 2020, and it was like a Mars landscape.
Yes, yes, so, it has been. But so far, knock wood, we're doing good. You know, we did have some rain. Even in Halifax, when we were there last week for Quilt Canada, we did have some rain out there too. So I think that definitely helped.
I know. So that, before we launch into kind of what we're talking about today, which is the age-old problem of how do you fit a square peg in a round hole? Yeah. We're going to go into that. But I want to hear more about Quilt Canada in Halifax.
Oh, yes. It was so fun and it was wonderful. Yes, it was in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So the great thing about Quilt Canada is our national quilting show. The Canadian Quilters Association, a national organization, puts it on, and we travel all across Canada. Now, of course, a few years ago, we didn't go anywhere because of, you know, we even tried to do it online. In fact, I think it was 2021 when we did it online as a way to, again, keep sharing the love of sewing and quilting. Last year was the first in-person show since 2019. That was out in Vancouver. And then this year, 2023, we went all the way to the opposite coast to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and it was absolutely wonderful. The buzz of the show, people were so excited to be, again, back in person. The show hadn't been to Halifax for over a decade. Wow. So they were so excited to have us all there. We were right downtown at the Halifax Convention Center. Beautiful facility, nice big spacious classrooms. We had 3 Janome classrooms. So that was great. As usual, our booth was front and center. And then, of course, we've got all the fabulous quilts on display. So
Yeah.
I did a multiple Janome Canada Facebook lives. So people can scroll back in our Janome Canada Facebook feed, or even under the videos and media tab, use the search bar and just type in like Quilt Canada. And all the lives that I did, I think about 4 or 5 there,
Nice.
touring the merchant mall, of seeing all of our friends that are in the various booths. I did all the national juried quilts that won ribbons. The other quilts that were on display, again, so much talent here in Canada. It was absolutely amazing. So it was really, really fun. It was a great show. Next year's out in Edmonton, Alberta. So again, anyone looking for details, go on the CQA, Canadian Quilters website. And never too early to sign up for a class, a workshop, a lecture. There's always so much going on there. And of course, Janome Canada will have a booth, and we'll see you there, hopefully.
Was there anything, I know it's always like asking somebody who their favorite child is, but did you
Oh.
have some favorite quilts that you saw, or any like new and interesting techniques or things
I
that you
really loved how, well, one, there was quite a few male quilters out there, so I was very excited. And a quilt show is a great opportunity to meet some of your, sewing quilting celebrities,
right?
that you may have followed on Instagram and Facebook. And, we had lots of people coming in our booth, which was so sweet. Oh, Michael, I watch your videos. And oh, Celine, Celine was there, and our educator Monique as well was on Quiltmaker Pro 20. But Celine does so many Facebook lives with Janome America and Janome Canada. So yes, people were running, oh, Celine, I watch your lives, or again, Michael, I watch your lives and your YouTubes. That's really sweet. But so it's a great opportunity to meet other, retailers and all the dealers, but then yet other quilters, and again, specifically male quilters. I'm always excited to meet other guys who sew and quilt. But in general, I was blown away by the youth. They had several categories of youth challenges.
Okay.
I think the age was, like there was a 8 to 10, a 10 to 12, and I think it was 12 to 14 category. Just blown away by the talent. Those kids sew and quilt way better at their young age than I did. I started sewing in high school, and to think, wow, these kids are way ahead of that. And the number of quilts though that had texture in 3-dimensional, like 3D dimensional elements. There was one that was all butterflies, and they were dimensional butterflies. And there was lots of quilts with beading and lots of thread painting, and they had animals that had whiskers, 3D.
How
You
cool.
wanted to touch them all, but of course they were like, no, they had the volunteers with the white gloves. They cut the quilts.
White gloves and a stun gun.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. It was so good, but it was so great that, again, just different. Quilting has come a long way. It's not just the, bed quilts your grandmother made. So
Right.
that's what really struck to me. Quilting now, it's the whole spectrum, the creativity, amazing.
Oh, that sounds so fun. That
Oh,
sounds
it
so
was
fun.
definitely.
Oh my
So
gosh.
again, anyone who wasn't able to join us in Halifax, you can go on the Janome Canada Facebook page, scroll back and see the lives, and then jump on the Canadian Quilters website. They've got all the pictures of the quilts, and then you click on the quilt of the juried show, and then you see all the winners.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yes, Janome Canada donated to the sewing machines, for example, for the youth challenge. One was a My Style 100, a good beginner machine, mechanical with the little adjustable,
Right.
knobs. And then the big prize was 8200. Nice computerized, yes, nice
Nice.
computerized machine. So that was really exciting to be there. And the their third place and first place, 2 sisters.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yep.
great.
So then we thought, oh, they're going to fight over those sewing machines. It was so good. So yes, lots good. So that's another good opportunity to, go to a show. You can see lots of people have lots of fun.
Right. Oh my gosh, that sounds excellent. So today we have a decidedly non-quilting topic.
Yes.
So
But
But
that's the great thing about Sew4Home, covers everything.
that's right. And I think we always hear from a lot of, not always, but we hear often from quilters who come and visit Sew4Home that they do love some of these projects because you can finish them in
Mm,
a much shorter time frame
yes.
than what it takes for a beautiful quilt. So
Mm.
that's something great. So what I have today, and this is something that we did at the workshop where I was up at Janome, Canada at the
Oh, I
beginning of
know, a whole
May.
month ago already.
I know.
Yeah.
And we had four different little techniques that we went through. And people ask me, well, how was it this? I think what I was the most pleased about is we had a good range of skill levels of people that
Mm,
were there, but I would say they were all still pretty experienced sewists. And so I was very pleased that everybody there learned something. And even
yeah.
if perhaps they had done one of these techniques in the past, we were able to share something that made it easier or turn
Mm.
out better, or often they had never even attempted it. So I kind of went through and I picked the one that, in my opinion, I think people had the most fun with, or it
Oh,
was
yes.
something that they really hadn't attempted before. And like I said, that is inserting a flat base, a square rectangular base
Mhm.
into a tube. So like it's that square peg in a round hole. And so this is one of those things I think that, you can impress people at your next cocktail party because you can tell them, throw that out. And it's like, all right, when can you actually fit a square peg in a round hole? And then you can impress them with your new knowledge.
Oh, and with sewing, we can do anything. If we can think it, we can do it.
That's right. The other thing is, as we go into it, and if you're loving this, if you didn't get it all down in our short time that we have together here, we do have a full technique tutorial on Sew4Home, and the title is How to Insert a Rectangular Base into a Tube. The key there, and again, this is one of your interesting facts to know and tell, a square is actually a type of rectangle.
Mm,
It's just a
mm.
rectangle where all the sides are even.
Oh, okay.
So every square is a rectangle. Not every rectangle is a square. So there you go.
Very
So
true.
if you want to find it, and I can also chat you that link again in case you need it. It's on the top of the little summary workshop thing that you have as well. So I
Oh,
think
lovely.
the
Well, of
key.
course, again, we could go to sew4home.com, but
Mhm.
wasn't this beautiful for those who attended our workshop? All the instructions here, the beautiful Sew4Home, the little sticker I love. But yes, for those, again, that not everyone could attend the workshop, we did have a limited space. But the fun thing, because we're hoping this is like the first workshop of hopefully many. And hopefully we can get Liz back up here and see, yes, everything is all beautifully laid out. Everything was cut beautifully, full color instructions. So you can jump on sew4home.com, all full color instructions, photos. You won't have any fabric. Chances are you have some of your own,
I bet you have
but
some.
all the instructions will be there at sew4home.com.
The keys really in this technique, and I think maybe the reason why people either shy away from it or maybe they haven't had a good experience is you have to measure. You have to
Mm,
measure and mark to really make sure that you have good center points to line up. And you really need to sew each of your sides independently. I mean, if you're a super sewer out there, maybe you could just whiz through it and not even think about it. But if you really want to make sure that you end up with that beautifully flat base, do each side independently.
mm.
So the first thing you're going to work with is your tube, is your round. So there's your round hole. And this one that I did for just these little step outs, this is probably the most classic that you might work with. It's going to be two panels that you will have seamed along each side to make your circle or your tube. Now, just remember that that may not be exactly what you have on your project to start with. Maybe you only have one seam that you're using to make your loop. We've done projects where these are not necessarily the side seams. We're going to rotate them to the front, and they're going to become a cool little accent, front and back. But whatever's happening, what you're going to do is turn that tube basically into your square or your rectangle. I'm going to say square from now on because I'm actually working with the square base. So the first thing that you need to do is figure out your center points in each of the 4 quadrants. If you have something like this, you're good to go with 2 of them already because those are your side seams. So there's your first quadrant and your second quadrant. Bring those together. So line those up front to back, flatten the tube, and find those outer edges, and then mark them with a pin. I prefer to use a pin, but you could also kind of double up your marking and use both a pin and like a little fabric mark. So there, now you have, I kind of like to think of it as the 4 points of a compass, or maybe the 12, 3, 6, and 9 on the face of a clock. But those are real important. And remember, we're going to put something into the base of this tube. So you really make sure, if you have some sort of a directional fabric, that you are marking the base. So you've got your tube marked, you know your 4 points of the compass. You need a matching set of marks on your base panel. So here's my base panel. I've done it the easy way. I just folded it in half one way and kind of finger press. You can finger press or actually take it to the iron. And I'm going to fold it in half the other way so that there I've got my 4 center points, the center of each of the sides. Of course, you could just measure. There's nothing to say you can't do that. That's perfectly fine. But again, make a little mark, put a little pin so that you have an easy way to find each of those 4 center points. Then next is what I think is a real key, and that is, see if you can see that. Can you see that little square there in the corner? That is really important. And you're going to make one of those little squares in each of the corners of your base panel. The size of that square is going to be the same size as your seam allowance. So we are working with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So each of these little squares is a 1/2 inch. Now, if you happen to have a little handy square quilter's ruler in your tools, those are great to use because you can just kind of slide them in from the corner until you get, so I'm going to be kind of, but just slide that down until you reach that 1/2 inch and draw in each corner. That's just a really fast way to do it. So now you have both of your pieces marked correctly. And again, you can certainly mark on both sides, but do make sure that you at least have nice clear marks on the wrong side of your fabric. So those are going to mark those corners on the wrong side. Next, this goes to the idea of doing each of those seams independently. So you're going to start with your tube. This is how we do it. Now you can do it other way around, but I think it's a lot easier to have your tube wrong side out and to slip the base panel inside. So I'm going to slip that base panel inside there. So I'm lining up my 2 pieces. They're right sides together. Doesn't really matter which side you start with. That's kind of up to you. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to line up your center point. So in this case, I'm using one of my seams, one of my quadrant points, and I'm lining that up with one of the center points of the base panel. So that's kind of your anchor. So put that in and then flatten it and place a pin at the inside corner on each of those handy little boxes that you drew. Put in more pins if you want, if you've got like a really long base that you're putting in, but those are your main points that you want to secure. You'll notice I still have my other center points on here. They're over there. But right now, I'm just going to work with this one side. So the next thing I did in my step outs is I stitched that one side. And here's another key. You are going to start your stitching right at the inside edge of that box. You're going to stitch across, again, using, in our case, a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but that seam allowance will match whatever you've made your box. Might be 1/4 inch, might be 5/8 of an inch. It will work with any size. You just need to make sure that the box that you're making in the corner is the same as your seam allowance. So start that stitch right at the inside corner of the box, stitch across, lock it at the opposite corner. Now this is part of what makes it the ability to make that square peg in the round hole. You're going to take your little scissors. I did kind of pre-cut this, and you're going to snip into the tube. So I'm not snipping the base, I'm snipping into the tube in the next side that I'm going to go. And you're going to cut right along that same inner edge that you've drawn. Just cut down about 3/4 of the way. Obviously, you don't want to cut into your seam because you could end up with a little tiny hole at that corner point. But you want to clip it enough so that when you move to set up your next side, that is going to ease. It's going to spread apart and make a little box of its own in that corner. You see that okay? It's right there. So that has spread apart, and there is the base panel behind it. So that's what allows me to get the next side into position. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure that the center point that I had on the tube is aligned with the center point that I had on my base panel. And I'm going to keep pinning all the way across. Again, putting another pin at that inside point. So I'm ready to go there. Still right sides together. I'm going to drop my needle in right at that corner. And I'm going to stitch from inside to inside, box to box. So those are kind of the key points. You just keep going all the way around. There's our finished box. And you can kind of see, if I turn it this way, I think you can see how each of those corners has been eased. So I've clipped into each of the corners so that I can get that nice sharp turn as I go around. And then depending on the weight of your fabric, I left this obviously so that you all could see what was going on and how the easing works and everything like that. On an actual project, I trim my corners. I might even, depending on the thickness of the fabric, I might even grade the seam a little bit before I turn it right side out. But let's just do that anyway. And kind of poke out each of those corners. And there we go, a flat base into what was once a tube. And again, I think you can still kind of see the crease lines that I made in my original base. And you can see that they do line up nicely all the way around. So it's nice and square. It's going to be nice and flat. And again, it works in any kind of rectangle, whether it's a square or not. This is kind of a cute little project we just finished on Sew4Home. They're a little box basket. And like I said, this is one where there's only one seam in this little guy. But super fast and easy. This has like a canvas lining and a quilting cotton exterior. And it's really not much more work than what I just showed you on those little step outs. So you're insetting that base into both the exterior and the lining. It's got a little cuff that I can fold down. We made these, kind of the idea behind them was as a little plant cover so that you could take those ugly plastic pots that you get at the nursery and you can just boink, drop it right in there. But so many uses for this, for baskets, for boxes, all kinds of bags. It's a real easy skill to learn. And again, just remember to mark your tube, mark your base, and sew each side independently. There you go. Easy as
I
that.
think that is fabulous because usually when we get to a corner and pivot, we just go around and around and around, but then that's how your box could end up a little skewed, a little wonky.
Mhm.
So I think it's great to do one side at a time so it's
Yep.
nice and square that way that it's not going a little wonky. And these would make great scrap catchers too. And if,
Oh, just
whenever you're
about
trying a
perfect.
new technique, I always say, just cut it out of, ugly fabric. It doesn't matter,
Right.
just to get the technique down in your head. And let's say the first one didn't turn out like you would expect. Great, use it as a little thread catcher at your machine. It doesn't matter. And then
Right.
you try it the second time, and then, yeah, maybe line it. And then I think
Mhm.
the plant cover is a great idea because,
Yeah,
yes, those plant pots are,
they're not too
why
cute.
spend the money on getting a new pot? Just make a cover. That's great.
And this right now, the one that's on the site right now, we did 3 sizes. So we have,
Oh,
a big
sweet.
one, this is the medium one, and then there's a little baby one.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, and they will fit with the little trays that so that you can just put like a little drainage tray under it and
Oh,
just
okay.
boink, put the whole thing in,
As
adjust your cuff.
always, Sew4Home thinks of everything. I love it. That's wonderful.
But it's a super easy technique. But again, I think that, like you're saying, people may have tried it and that, they just got it kind of cattywampus and it's like,
Mm.
okay, I can't do that. That's just weird. And you can't put a square peg in a round hole. You just can't. So,
But having those registration marks, I think that's really key, that you can see right away where your points, where your seam should line up. And if something's going a little off, you see it right away. Oh, I'm a
right.
little off. And then you can adjust. Maybe your seam
Yeah.
allowance isn't right. Maybe your fabric's not lined up as it should be. So you've got that registration mark along the way. And it's not until you finish it and then go, ooh, now I'm off. Well, you notice you're off right away. So
Right,
that's
that's
great.
that key of going one side at a time, and because
Yeah.
I think like you were saying, that pivoting, the other thing that is real common to happen is that, your fabric can just kinda shift each time. So, it's
Mm.
like you get all the way, it's like, "Oh, it's looking flat," you get to the end, it's like, "Why is there a big bump of fabric now at the very end?" Because 'Cause you've just been pushing it along as you go, so just flatten it each time, set in that base, and you're good to go. Good to
Well,
go.
yes, and I know trimming into your fabric sounds like a really scary prospect. Definitely use nice, sharp little
Yes,
snips.
just
Oh, like
little
even our
tiny.
Janome mini duckling scissors, perfect,
Oh,
sharp
sure.
all the way to the tip. Don't
Yep.
use your rotary cutter. Don't be tempted. Nope. That's going to
Don't get
go
out
into
the
that
big
seam
shears.
allowance.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally. Just a nice sharp little, and again, as Liz said, you don't want to cut too far because then that's going to create a hole in your fabric, but you need to clip it pretty close in
Mhm.
order to, I always think of it as a hinge. You're going to
Right.
hinge your fabric, open. So it needs to be pretty close to that seam allowance so it can
Mhm.
open all the way there. Now, for extra security too, you could shorten your stitch length. You might want to do a little back stitch just in that corner, just to make it a little bit more secure. But yeah, you do need to clip it pretty close to that seam allowance, but again, not too much. That's why, again, practice maybe first,
Practice may be
just
perfect.
in case.
Even put like a little dot of seam sealant in each corner.
Totally. Yes, that would be great. Again, just in case. And depending on your fabric, as you were saying as well, if it's just regular quilting cotton, you'd probably be okay. If it's something like really ravelly, then oh yeah, definitely you'll maybe again want to backstitch or shorten your seam
Right.
allowance or a
That's
stitch length just in case. But
yeah.
seam sealant, I love it. Fray check in particular. I've been using for 30 years, so I
And
swear by
so that
it.
was you know, like I said, very much a technique in a nutshell, but the full technique is on Sew4Home if you want to look at it and practice it. But then I had brought a little special thing before we go to
Oh,
show
yes. A little
Michael,
sneak
and
peek.
I will give the rest of you a little peek. We have a fun little kids smock apron, kind of like a painter's smock, perfect for going back to school or something like that. And we're making it out of this adorable cotton laminate. So it is definitely it's thinner than like an oilcloth, but thicker than maybe just like a traditional cotton laminate. So it's kind of in between, but it's super cute, little polka dots there. And then we found this matching, very, very cute stripy rainbow binding. So it'll have a lining, but it will be mostly a pattern to cut out. So that's kind of what we're working on now, so that we can have the most generic size that will fit the widest range of kiddos, but still be able to be a free pattern download. So that'll be real fun, and just in time for back to school and other like last minute summer activities.
Oh, yes, I think that would be so great because with that, treated fabric in that it is, slippery and stick, so nothing will stick to it. So
Right.
I think,
Just wipe it off.
finger painting, in school, and then if you end up with paint all over, great, you just wash it off, or maybe you're gonna help in the garden, as your parents are going to be doing some planting for the fall or harvesting for the fall. You can help in the garden, and then if you're getting all dirty, you just wipe it all clean. Like, how great.
Heck of a deal.
Yes, so this will be an upcoming
Yes.
Sew4Home Janome Canada exclusive project, which will be eventually up on our website.
Right.
So again, we like to give you the sneak peek. Oh, it's coming, it's coming. So then, of course, when it's there, then we'll let you know, hey, it's on Janome Canada website. You can go there, download it for free. We always post a blog. I post a blog on Janome Life to say, what's happening with Sew4Home, that with our mini sewing tips and our Janome Canada exclusive projects, the project pairings, all of that is on Janome Life. So another way to, again, share the Janome love and the Sew4Home love.
All kinds of good stuff. So
yes, exactly, to keep everybody sewing and loving your machine, whatever it is, whatever your machine is, there's always something for everyone with Sew4Home and Janome Canada. So a perfect partnership.
There you go. That sounds delightful. So we are going to take a little tiny break.
Yes, thank you for mentioning. Yes.
I have the audacity to be going on vacation. So
and you're entitled because you work as crazily as the rest of us these days. But yes, so no Janome Canada Sew4Home Facebook Live next month into July. Again, it's July. Most everyone's going to be out at the cottage or at the beach or traveling, so we figured, okay, we won't miss it too much. But then, oh yes, we'll be back in August.
Yeah, we'll be back in August, and the smock project will probably be almost done by then. So we'll get to take another sneak peek at that, as well as what we have coming up for the holiday season.
Yes, because, I don't want the year to go by any faster, but we're always trying to think ahead, trying to plan. So yes, when we do get together in August, it'll be, Thursday, August 17th.
Okay.
Mark your calendars now. We assume we can meet at our usual time at 3 p.m. Eastern. But again, maybe something might happen in Liz's schedule or my schedule. We may have to bump it up. A few times we've met at like 3:30 as opposed to 3. But again, we will promote and give you all the heads up ahead of time. But again, it should be Thursday, August 17th. And then, yes, we will have an update on some projects, update on some sneak peek projects. So that's always exciting.
And I will make sure that I send you a link in just a second here for the technique tutorial for insetting the base. So I will also send this link too, just in case, although you can just go browse around and find all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh, yes, because on Sew4Home.com, there is a search box. So you can type in, if you're interested, for example, how do I make piping, or you're interested in a machine, or even a presser foot. Sew4Home did a whole review of the Janome presser foot workbook, but even individual presser feet, the HP foot or the AccuFeed Flex foot. You're curious about, how do I use those foot? When would I use those foot? Type in the search box whatever you'd like to learn, and all those related articles will populate on sew4home.com.
Yeah.
So sweet. Wonderful. Thank you. This is absolutely wonderful.
All righty.
Oh, love Sew4Home. Thanks for everything. Lisa B in Niagara. Lovely.
Aww.
Yes, thank you. That is wonderful. Again, we always love Liz doing the live, and again, providing so much information. It's there on sew4home.com, or again, you can check out Janome Life blog. And then here again, this is why we've started doing these Janome Canada Sew4Home lives, to get more information out to you. So again, we can get the most out of all of our machines and presser feet, and there's always so much to do. That's part of the fun.
That is part of the fun. But thank you all so much for taking a little time out of your day to visit with us. And Michael always posts these, so you can tell your friends to go take a look if they happen to miss it. But
oh, yes, exactly. And this is streaming live to our Janome HQ YouTube channel. So for those who don't have Facebook, or you don't want to bother scrolling back through Facebook, you can check it out on Janome Canada or Janome HQ YouTube channel. It's under the live playlist. So all of these now are streaming live to YouTube. So you don't even have to have Facebook to share the love.
All right, everybody. I want you to not only impress your friends and neighbors with your newfound knowledge about inserting a square peg in a round hole, and letting them know that a square is really a rectangle.
Yes, back to geometry class. Wow.
I know. All right.
And
thanks everybody so much.
So glad Sew4Home has so many free patterns.
Aww.
I agree. Thank you, Becky. That's another great thing of Sew4Home. It's all free. Go to their website. Yes. Wonderful.
Right,
thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a fabulous day. And again, we'll see you in August for Janome Canada Sew4Home Facebook Live.
All right. Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.